I think my first week I made like just under $8,000 revenue.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was just by yourself, or was it with someone?
That was by myself, but I had the guy that I was from helping me, because when you buy the business, especially a resale and a split, they've got to come out and do all the customers with you.
Yeah.
So he had my help, but he was sort of just kicking back. But if you're curious about it, just call your franchisor from your area. I would highly recommend it. They can give you the numbers for franchisees, and people will be 100% honest. I'm not getting paid to come on here and talk gyms up. There's no incentive for me to come on. I just want to come on because I want to see more people out there be backed by the gyms franchising.
So today is joining me is Chris on the Central Coast from Jim's Mowing, and you've just passed your 1 year, so congrats on that. But your franchisor Paul said you'd be a great interview because you've came via another non-sort of traditional sort of franchise way. Most people with Jim's Mowing will see a franchise or have a mate in it and come in that way, but you came in by a different way. So do you want to maybe talk about that and why you decided to come involved with gyms?
Yeah, so I've been a horticulturalist, like working as a gardener for like over 10 years. And then I moved to the Central Coast about an hour and a half from where I was working, and I was traveling up and down. And I started with Bizza to try and get some leads. So I started doing casual work like for myself while I was building up my clients. And I was just struggling with like marketing on Facebook and having to pay for ads and stuff. So I signed up. Someone told me about Bizza, and I signed up, and I was getting some good quality work from there. And then I found out that was sort of just like the scraps that you get from gyms. Well, that's what I consider it to be anyway. And the fact that I was still getting good work from that is what made me think, oh, if I look into actually signing up and becoming a franchisee, the work's just going to be endless, because originally I sort of thought that wasn't the right direction to go in.
Yeah.
And since I've done it, it's been the best thing.
Why did you think that then? That's great. This is great. So to talk about.
So I've been a gardener since straight out of school. So since I was like 15, 16, I started an apprenticeship, and the tradesmen that I was working with, like gyms was the worst. Like it was considered like, I'm being honest, like it was considered the Maccas of like gardening. Like they just flat whip everything, poison edges and stuff like that. That's what I was told, having not seen the work. That's just what was like put into my brain. And then I left that company, joined a different company, which had a lot better view on franchisees. My previous boss was actually a flower power franchisee, and he had a great experience with franchise. He actually looked into gyms as well. I'm not too sure why he didn't go with gyms, but that was his decision. But when I sort of made the decision to go out on my own, he was like, "Hey, you should look into franchises." And gyms was the first one I looked at, and I just loved it so much I didn't even bother inquiring with any of the other ones.
Yeah, but you went with Bizza, so you did try to do something yourself first. And
so originally, because I was working 4 days a week in Sydney,
right?
And then I dropped the Friday with my boss, and I was spending 1 day a week trying to build up my clientele. And Bizza was the way that I was doing that, and I was getting a decent amount of work through there. But then when I made the decision to switch to full time for myself, it wasn't enough. There wasn't enough work coming from Bizza to like pick up that regular customer base like straight away. So then that's when I quickly joined a franchise.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing the comment about the people saying, Jim's Mowing was the Maccas or something, because I think independents get very protective and they don't understand a lot of franchisees like yourself with horticulturalists, horticultural qualifications, many years experience. They just think that everyone's the same. And, we've got 2,000 franchisees and everyone's got different skill levels, obviously. But you got some really high quality operators like yourself. And yeah, it's always a bit of an independence versus Jim's Mowing sort of thing online and stuff like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do think they get a lot wrong about the skill level of the franchise.
Yeah, like as I said, I've been in the industry for about 11, 12 years. And up until 2 months before I joined gyms, that was the mindset that I had. And it wasn't until I watched all the YouTube videos like that you do in particular around the training and all that made me change my mind about it.
I'm glad to hear that, because the general punter sometimes, because we get it all the time, like on TikTok, as you can imagine, I put up stuff about Jim's Mowing guys and I get independents who obviously they tell you they're successful in their TikTok comments, but I don't think they are in the middle of the day if they're posting around negative stuff. But it can get quite frustrating sometimes hearing that stuff online, but I'm glad to see you looked into it a bit and saw that's not the case. And what about you? So what do you like about being a gardener, or what do you like about horticulture maybe? Do you want to talk a little bit about
Well, it was just it was honestly just the first job that I sort of fell into straight out of school. And I really liked the work. I didn't like I had a bit of a falling out with the first boss that I had, but he gave me a really good work ethic.
Yeah.
And I liked the work. And even when I left gardening, I went and did debt collection. I still worked on the weekends with my mate mowing, like with his lawn mowing run. So throughout the last 12 years from leaving school, even though I've done other jobs, I've always maintained at least doing a mowing run throughout the whole period, even not like wasn't specifically my run, but I've been doing it for the whole time. So I've done a fair few different professions, but when I left my debt collection job and I was sort of bumping around, not sure what I was going to do, I just started a little lawn mowing business just out of my girlfriend's hatchback. And it was just a terrible thing. I was just doing the bare minimum to pay my board at her parents' house and working out of a hatchback just while I was gaming. And then she actually got me a full-time job back into gardening, and like it was the best thing ever. And the boss that I had, he's the best human being. And I still like rely on him all the time for just life advice. He's just the best guy. And just being out in the sun, like sometimes I just go out and I just love being outdoors. Like when I worked indoors, I put on about 15, 20 kilos, just stuck in an office, and then got back out and very good again.
Yeah, I love that comment. It's such a great thing to hear for people because the mental health benefits, your physical, just such a good thing for yourself. Where, as you see, if your corporate job, see it all day.
Mowing lawns isn't the most glamorous job, but I love being out there. I just love it.
Might not be the most glamorous, but I tell you what, it pays well and it keeps you fit. And you're outside, you don't have to deal with all the politics and BS. So it's got, people might think that, but I'll tell you what, it's the way to go. Now, do you want to talk about real quickly then the business side of it? So you were getting the unserviced leads. What sort of leads were you taking? Was it just mowing, or were you taking other jobs besides mowing, or what?
Was this when I started with gyms?
Yeah, yeah. Before gyms. Because you're saying with the Bizzer leads, yeah.
Yeah, Bizzer leads, yeah.
Were you just doing mowing, or were you doing what were you taking from them?
It was from what I remember, it was mainly mowing. And I've still got a few of those customers now. It was pretty good. It was mainly mowing, and then because I already had the experience with like upselling and stuff, I did convert into like gardening and then like some pressure cleaning and some pest and spray services with those customers. But I mainly kept it to like what I'm qualified in, like gardening and maintenance. I didn't like handyman work or anything.
No. So with that initial thing, obviously, did you get called by the franchise or you sort out to do the franchise, or how did you sort of then decide you wanted to get full-time gyms?
I just called,
just called up because you thought the leads are so
just called
this,
called Paul, and then we met up and went from there.
Well, how's the process for you then? Because it can be quite daunting, especially with you might have had these preconceived notions without Jim's mowing and stuff from back in the day. So how was the whole process?
Yeah, so it's actually a funny story. I tried to get an exemption from the training.
Ah, right.
so
happens sometimes, yes.
Yeah, so considering that I had all the gardening experience and I was running a team and I was doing quoting and all that
makes sense.
My previous company, and my wife was due to have a baby in like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez.
Training. So being from Sydney, I didn't want to fly down to Melbourne. I said I was happy to do the training, but can I start now and then do the training like a month
later
after Brandon's born? Because obviously you go to Melbourne for the 5 or 6 days training.
Yep.
And after they said no and everything, which is justified, it made perfect sense why you have to go to the training, because it's not as much as doing the work at the training. It's all the customer service and like professionalism and stuff, which they obviously need to see you and teach you the way that gyms does things. And it's completely different to someone who just goes out and just like all the stuff about calling back straight away, like quoting properly, all that stuff that you learn at the training, which is very, very important. Like you just don't know that just because you're a good gardener and you can mow lawns very well, it doesn't mean you're qualified to like Jim's qualification for the customer service part of it.
What did you learn? Because that's a good point. Because you've been, as you said, you've been running teams. You've done all this stuff before.
Yeah.
What did you take away? You mentioned customer service, but was there anything specifically you took away? Because you've obviously got a lot of experience that from the training.
Yeah, nothing in particular. It is just how I was just surprised at how much of a focus it was on customer service is the number one. Obviously, like safety and customer service were the number one thing that we kept harping on. I think the first 3 days, it's like pretty much we're talking about customer service the whole time, just do what's right for the customer, just all that aspect of things. And then there's like the little bits of training and quoting are more towards the end of the course. Yeah, so nothing in particular, but just I was surprised and impressed at how much detail there was about the training. I can't like off the top of my head.
No, that's fine. I just said it's just interested in hearing that because, it's quite a lot of the time people might have an independent business running it fine and then what after coming training, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a really good experience. It's why we do so much content online just to make people hopefully want to come because there's a networking side of it as well. And I think it, as you said, hearing Jim go on about customer service as much as he does, I think a lot of people think it's obvious to do certain things with customer service, but they don't because that's why a lot of independents don't succeed because they don't do that stuff. But I think it's really important to come to training in Melbourne to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say as well, with your business now, how's it looking after 12 months?
Very good. I'm really enjoying it. I bought a split. I bought a resale.
Yep.
So I already had about 15 customers that I had built up from Bizarre. Yep. And then I bought 55 customers off a guy who was selling because he had bad knees. And within 2 months, I doubled the clients.
Wow.
On the list within 2 months. So I just pumped it out, got really busy at the start, and then took on a casual worker and just maintained it and just fine-tuned things over the next few months. And then coming into winter for myself and just refined and made the runs that I had in the days that I had as efficient as possible.
And how does your horticulture training help you in your business?
It helps with pointing out, it helps a lot with upselling and providing extra services for the customers because I've got the knowledge to be able to say, hey, that plant over there has a specific disease on it. I can treat it for you. This is the process. Or the lawn has this fungal issue with it. We can do this to help that. It's just more so about the customers knowing that we can provide those extra services, and also it helps them, they can actually see the quality that they're getting from you.
Yeah.
By being able to point out those things that they wouldn't notice. And then when you fix it and the plant looks a lot better in a few weeks, they are actually realizing they're getting some good value for their money.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. The reason why I asked that is we want more franchisees to do the horticulture side of it. And I think just even what you said alone, that plant's got a disease on it. 99% of people would not know that sort of stuff. And it's not like a forced upsell, I can help you with this, pointing this out to you. Yeah, it's a really good way to go about it. I was going to say as well, with your financially with your business, you're happy with what you've been doing?
Yeah, so good. We can get into the numbers if you want, mate. It's great.
Well, you can share as much as what you want, but I love talking to people like yourself because I think there's a really big misconception about Jim's mowing and stuff online in terms of how much money you can do and how well you can do as an operator. So it's up to you how much you want to share, but how are you going?
So I think all up for all the equipment, the training, the territory and everything, I think my business to purchase it cost roughly about $40,000.
Yep.
Roughly. And I made that back in the first 2 months.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it paid itself off pretty quickly.
That's amazing. It's such an amazing ROI business. If you bought a site-based franchise for $300,000 or $350,000, you're not paying that off in 2 months or even 2 years. So it's amazing to hear that.
Yeah, that's right. I did get a good deal on my trailer and my ride-on and stuff, but that's still the fact. I think my first week, I made just under $8,000 revenue.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was was it just by yourself or was it with someone?
That was by myself, but I had the guy that I bought was from helping me. Because when you buy the business, especially a resale, they've got a split. They've got to come out and do all the customers with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So he had my help, but he was sort of just kicking back. But
it's amazing. And I love this because when we put this stuff online, people say, "Oh, he says he's made $8,000 a week, but you got to take out GST, fuel tax, franchise fees, all this sort of stuff, right?" Yeah. So you don't have to say exactly what all the costs are, but roughly, when you say $8,000 revenue, sort of roughly how much are you sort of taking home with you?
So I pretty much think I listen to all these podcasts about profit first for tradies and profitable tradies, all that sort of stuff. And they talk about finding and you guys talked about it in the training as well, finding out what the minimum amount you need to make per day. Now, I just feel it might not be the best business practice, but I'm making such a decent amount of money. I actually haven't sat down and broken down how much percentages of profit I'm actually making.
Yeah.
Which is something I probably need to do. But I've just been making so much more than what I need to that I just haven't actually sat down.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah.
But I pretty much work off like I consider like once you take out the franchise fees, tax, paying my employee, I'm looking at about 40%, 40 to 50% of the revenue I make.
Awesome.
Rough figure that I've got. It's probably not that accurate, but there's more money in the bank than there was the last week. So
but like it's great to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that because we do a lot of this content online and we interview franchisees like yourself, and they say, I turned over $6,000 or $8,000 a week, and you get the negative people who maybe have another independent business or whatever they are, and they say, you probably keeps $1,000 of that or this and that. So I'm glad to hear it from
with the franchise fee. I think with the amount of leads I take plus like the fee itself, it's just a tiny bit over $1,000. Yeah, and I pretty much the first day of the month it's paid for.
It's great to hear.
Yeah, so then the rest from there is all good. Yeah.
We obviously do a great job of quoting and pricing your jobs properly to be that profitable. So advice maybe then around quoting, because a lot of franchisees struggle with it when they first start, but you've obviously come with a bit of experience into it. So you obviously do you have a set formula for your quoting, or how do you run things?
So the thing that I think has benefited me heaps with quoting is because I've done it for so long, I can pretty much look at any job and I'm pretty accurate with how long it's going to take.
Right.
I think in the 12 months I've been off by like an hour, like once or twice, with like big cleanup jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I can pretty much look at a hedging job or a lawn and I'm pretty accurate with the price. I'm never too far off. But it's just about allowing yourself like a bit of leeway with, like, if you think something's going to take an hour, charge it as if it's going to take an hour and 10. So you've got that little bit of buffer room. And then if you do it in the hour, just say to the customer, hey, I did it a bit quicker than I was expecting. This is what I quoted you. I'll take $10 off just to make it. You don't want to rip people off. You want to be fair. But when you quote, I always put a little bit of fat in there just to allow if I'm a little bit off. And I've got set figures. I got sent a email with like guidelines from Dan Cahill, like what he's not my franchisor, but he's like really hands-on at the training and stuff when he comes down, and he sent down an email with what he charges for all the different services. And yeah, my rate going in when I was with Bizza was completely different to what I changed it to once I became a gyms, and I've slowly increased all those prices for those customers that I had before up to the hourly rate that I'm sort of looking at now.
And how much harder was it? How much easier has it been running a business with gyms compared to what you're doing?
So much easier. I was a bit nervous because I gave my boss a finish date as to when I was leaving. I gave him 6 months notice.
Yeah.
Because we just had such a great relationship. I said,
that's very nice of you. Not many people would just say,
look, I'm leaving in 6 months. I've got a baby due and I'm going to start my own business up on the Central Coast. It was just about doing that transition. But as the 6 months was approaching, I was thinking the leads aren't like, I was getting a good amount from Bizza, but I was doing Facebook marketing and commenting on all the
local groups and stuff.
Pages and stuff. Yeah. And just the amount of traffic in there with like, you put a comment saying, more than happy to help you. And you have 30 people commenting underneath saying, oh, this guy did my lawn and he was the best. You should get him. But then you realize it's the same last name. It's the same last name quoting the husband's business and just all that stuff. So just signing up to the franchise just eliminated all that stress, and the marketing's all done for you. And literally 2 minutes before this meeting started, a lead came through. And I just put customer and booked it in for Monday next week. Oh, and also I told you roughly how much I'm making. I don't work on Fridays.
Really?
I work 4 days a week.
Oh, wow. And you're doing that revenue?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I do have a casual that helps me now.
Yeah.
He's an older guy. He's in his late 60s. Yep. Great. But yeah, I work 4 days a week, which gives me the allowance. Like I had to work a little bit this morning because I do the 4 days a week, one, so I can spend more time with my kids on the weekend. I've picked up a golf hobby.
Oh, no, that's not Paul's influence on you, is it? Don't know Paul.
It's not, actually. I found out afterwards that he lives on a golf course. And also, by having that Friday free, if we get any rain days throughout the week, like Tuesday this week, we had a bit of rain. Yeah, I had to pick up a handful of jobs this morning that were from Tuesday. So having that flexibility, you can just move things around, and the customers are more, obviously, there's a fine balance between coming out and doing the job in the rain and the quality of work.
Yeah.
On the lawn and grass spitting up everywhere. So
absolutely,
I'm happy to move things around.
And how's the support been as well from the franchisees and from Paul?
It's good. I really love the team meetings. Sorry, the group meetings, the in-person ones. Everyone talks about how their business is going, what machinery they're using, different struggles that they're having, and everyone gets around each other and helps. I was saying to Paul last time I spoke to him, every single gym I bump into on the road, we talk to each other and we'll have a 5-minute chat and see how you're going, and it's all friendly and everything, and everyone's more than happy to help. There's only been one guy that was a bit of an when I bumped into him. It was, but it's honest. And the thing is, he's no longer a gym. So that sort of goes to make sure that 99% of the people that are in are all trying to look out for each other and help each other as much.
I think that surprises a lot of people with gyms is they don't realise how supportive other franchisees are. They think it might be real competitive or real territorial, but everyone's really supportive of each other.
I sold a split just at the end of winter. The guy that I sold to, he comes out and does the work with me, and we got on really well. And I came back to his house and showed him how I used the systems and stuff and everything. And that's not even part of the agreement. I don't have to do that, but I just did that. Show what I do.
Oh, so you sold a split, did you? Sorry.
Yeah, I sold a split.
Awesome. That's pretty good in your first 12 months.
Yeah. There's a large area of jobs from the resale that I had that just were a little bit too far out of the way from where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So he bought a split, and it's one street. Most of the jobs are one street away from his house.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I was helping him out on the computer, and then he was worried about how much work he was going to get coming through. I said, mate, don't worry, it's going to come. It'll be fine. Trust me. And he's like, I'm going to go do a letterbox drop in his territory. I said, mate, if you want to, you can go do a letterbox drop in mine as well. Like, I don't mind. I've got enough work. If you think that's going to help you get more customers, feel free to go and drop your business cards with your Melbourne number in my territory as well. If they call you, they call you. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Picked up a couple of jobs that way. But his first week, I think he got a $12,000 quote approved. He's
busy.
Well, yeah.
12.
Obviously, to all the details of how long that job was spanned out over, but yeah, that's the last I spoke with him. He converted a $12,000 lead in his first week.
Jeez, it's amazing, isn't it?
From a $10 lead.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? People complain about lead fees, but I tell you what, it's last cent over customer.
Yeah, that's the fact. Like I was listening to about why they implemented the fee on the lead, and it goes to show that, like, if you've paid for it, you're more likely to call them because you've paid for it. Such a smart. I don't know who came up with that.
That's Jim.
Yeah, that the fact that, like, it just puts more, like, importance on calling the customer because it's someone you've paid for.
Well, before he brought it in place, people, if they're busy and they get a lead, what's the incentive?
Incentive.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you know you're paying for it, you're going to do your darndest to try and win it. And it's amazing the value you can get from one lead. Like a $12, $14 lead can turn into a $12,000 job, or $40,000 job, or a 15-year or 10-year customer. So it's always quite amusing. Not just that's amusing, but it is quite amusing to me when sometimes people complain about lead fees. Yeah, generally, if they don't convert lead fees, it's because they don't call them back in time, or they're rude on the phone, or they don't do something right in the process. So
yeah, that's right.
What about converting your quotes then? Because you obviously convert really good price jobs, and you've got a really good customer base already. You've already sold a split. So what's your key to converting quotes? Well,
look, honestly, I kept increasing my prices, like, with every quote until people started saying no, as it was too expensive.
That's great. That's great, though. That's what Jim tells exactly everyone to do in training. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's right. So I've actually got a handful of customers that are on sort of old prices.
Yeah. Like
what my hourly rate was, like for gardening. So for gardening and ride-on jobs, I charge $3 a minute. Yeah. And for just push mowing, I charge $2 a minute. And I think that was what Dan Cahill.
Yeah, he comes off that. Those are the sort of rough figures.
Suggested to me. And that's working really well. And I'm comfortable with that amount. So that's sort of where I've sort of capped it. I'm still probably converting about 90% of jobs. Well, so I really think I could push it a bit higher, but I don't want to be, like, I think $180 is more than reasonable. Like, I don't want to be greedy.
And what's the key to converting jobs for you? Is it just speed of reply to the lead, or actual process?
Trying to call them as quickly as possible, get the quote booked in as quickly as possible, and then from when you quote, get the job booked in for as quickly as possible. Because, like, if you go and quote today, but you say, I can't do the job for 2 weeks and your quote's a little bit high, they've got 2 weeks to find someone that's for cheaper, or they might have people from those Facebook groups and stuff that are coming out and quoting. If you quote a job, you want your turnaround to get to that job and do that job to be as quick as possible. And then the customer's happy, they know you're reliable. And yeah, that's what I try and do. And that's what I was doing with the training as well.
That's really good advice. And I was going to say then, with your quotes, how do you deal with people on the phone then who just want to price over the phone? How do you deal with those sort of objections?
So I tell them that it's very, very hard to quote a job over the phone. It's best to see it in person. There has been 1 or 2 jobs where I have quoted it over the phone, like from pictures, but I say, this is a rough price. I'm quoting it more because I'm not actually there to see. Like, it's jobs where, for example, they need it done on Wednesday, but I'm not back in the area. Say it's like Thursday, it's Friday today. They need it done by Wednesday. I'm not back in the area until that day. It's only like small instances there where I'll say, look, send me the photos. I've only done this a handful of times. I'll give you a rough price. If I get there and it's completely different to the photos, then I'll give you a call and we'll just confirm the price before I start. But I don't lock anything in based off photos or over the phone. It's got to be seen in person before you give a price.
That's good advice, and it's good transparent information as well for the customer to be upfront about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say as well, now, equipment in your business, what sort of brands do you use? What sort of your philosophy around gear?
So when I was working down in Sydney, we were using Husqvarna battery-powered like whippersnippers and hedge trimmers. I think if you're not using a battery hedge trimmer, you're doing it wrong. The battery hedge trimmers are the best piece of equipment that you'll have in your toolbox. I use the telescopic. I use steel.
Yep.
If I could go back in time, I wouldn't have bought steel. I bought steel based off my previous boss's recommendation that they're just easier to get parts for and servicing as compared to the Husqvarna. But for me, the Husqvarna is by far the best for what I was doing back when I was working in Sydney. I used the Honda HRU 216 self-propelled mower.
Yep.
The first month I started with just a push mower, like not a rod. And I quickly realized that doing the amount of lawns we're doing, I'm going to need a self-propelled, because I was mainly more so gardening and hedging down in Sydney. And now I'm probably 80% mowing and 20% gardening up here. Down there was probably 90% gardening, 20% mowing.
Sure. So you're the mixture of the petrol and the battery.
Yeah. I feel like the hedge trimmer's battery is best. I still use a Shindauer 2-stroke whippersnipper. Steel blowers, got a gravelly ride-on, and I've got a spare of everything as well. I've got a spare mower in my ute that just stays there just in case something breaks. I can clearly switch it over and use that and get me through to the end of the day. I've got a spare blower in my ute. I've got a spare whippersnipper. I've got the Makita multi-tool. So it's like a spare whippersnipper, spare hedge trimmer, spare pole saw attached to it. That's just a spare. It hardly gets used. It's just there in case my main tool breaks, because in this industry, it's all about being efficient and condensing your runs as small as possible. If you've only got one whippersnipper and your whippersnipper breaks the day, you've got to drive half an hour home, half an hour back out. You've probably lost 3 or 4 lawn mowing jobs that you could have fit into that time.
Yep.
So it's all about just optimizing the equipment that you have and having spares of everything.
Oh, you're onto it. And it's great hearing that, because we did a video of Simon Jenkins, who's a 15-year franchisee up there, and exactly literally what you just said then, backup for everything, and exactly what you just said then. So that's great to hear as well. And the ride-on work, how much ride-on work are you doing at the moment in your business?
In Kurrambong, there is a lot of larger properties. Like, I think like the average block is like 900 square meters. So it's like on the larger side. Kurrambong's like, there's a lot of new estates in there, but then there's also a lot of like farm, like you sort of drive through farms and you drive through like cows on the road and stuff to the estate where like all the new developments are on Central Coast, because the Central Coast is like about to blow up. Like, it's getting busier and busier and there's more and more estates coming up. So I'm actually very thankful that Paul sort of pushed me to buy that territory, because now I've seen that there's so much new houses coming up. It's just, over the next 5-10 years, it's going to be crazy.
Well, everyone's leaving Sydney, going up there, I presume. So it's going to be quite common, I reckon, around Australia for these other places. But I was going to say as well, with What do you reckon then some misconceptions about the gardening industry are? Because I think there's still a lot of misconceptions from the general public, about gardening industry, horticulture and stuff like that. What are some maybe misconceptions that maybe people might have, let's say, working in the corporate world or homeowner about what you do?
It's a hard one. I don't know about misconceptions. It's just more so like you're going to have at your property, like me, for example, I'm a gardener. I've been a gardener for 12 years. I only have grass at my house. I have no garden. I do other people's gardens. I don't want to come home to gardens. I love gardening, but I don't want to do it at my own house. Like my casual mows my lawn now.
It's a classic. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, so I said, like, we got our house built 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And when we're doing all the landscaping and stuff, I just said, I just want grass. I don't want anything. My wife's like, now I've got a tiny little garden out the front that I've put some bulbs into.
Yeah, so like, because I always, we had that big article that blew up with the Daily Mail with like this bloke doing a prank call and getting a big prize. But
Mate, I'm all over the TikTok. And
yeah.
All over the...
So we saw that, and I was thinking, but a lot of people who actually were, the business owners in the comments were sort of sticking up for the person. I don't think it was a Jim's. I don't even know if it was a Jim's person or not.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were sticking up for the person on the phone, saying, well, they'd probably have to drive an hour this way, an hour back that way. So business owners get it.
Yeah.
And a general punter doesn't get it, because I think a lot of the time people try and discount the work that you guys do. They think, which for me is great. So it's crazy because you got all your equipment, so have you got those costs.
The main difference there, right, is I can rock up to a job with a $200 Yard King mower from Bunnings, and it'll take me an hour and a half to mow a lawn, right? Or I can put my $2,000 mower on their lawn, and it will take me 20 minutes. So should I charge the same price to them for the hour and a half with the Yard King mower? So let's say I spent an hour and a half there, I charged them $100, right? So my hourly rate's quite low. Or it's $100, but I'm there for 20 minutes. They're getting the same quality of work. It's just I'm doing it in 20 minutes with a better machine instead of an hour and a half with a Yard King. Like they can go to Bunnings and buy their own Yard King mower, or they can buy like one of the corded hedge trimmers, that Azito hedge trimmer. That'll take them all day, and they'll probably break the hedge trimmer, go back to Bunnings and replace it, and get a new one to do one hedge. Or I can come in with my $1,500 hedge trimmer and get it done, cleaned up, and out of their green waste taken away. They don't have to worry about it. That's the difference. We charge a premium price because we're using premium equipment. We're qualified. We've got the gym's training. If something goes wrong, if an independent does something wrong at a job, they can just block your number and you'll never see them again. If they smash a window, they can just block your number and you'll never see them again. Yep. If we come and break a window or do something wrong, or we do something outside of the quote, they can just call Jim's, and then Jim will call. Like, thankfully, I haven't had to speak to Jim about I've done anything, Borden. I haven't had to speak to Jim. I hope I never have to.
You don't mind him, mate. He called me on the phone today. When you see his name rock up, you go, gee, what's happening here? But yeah.
I don't know. My stomach would sink if I like this. But yeah, that's the difference. They can, like, an independent can just block your number, honestly. Like, there's a lot of great people out there and great people that would do the right thing to be professional, but it's the fact that they have that insurance that they can call gyms and it will get fixed, it will get rectified.
That's going to be a TikTok clip now, Chris, and now you're going to get a lot of people who are angry independents coming seeing that, because it's a great. I love that you said it, because I obviously manage a lot of the service and I see all this stuff and it's quite frustrating for me. So I'm fantastic. It's great.
And that's a big selling, like, for people that are thinking about buying a franchise. That is a big selling point. What I say to the customers all the time, like, because I'm on all the mowing groups and stuff, and they say, oh, my previous guy charged me this price. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you have that guy anymore? He stopped coming.
It's not coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Way of business.
Yeah, I always say if he was charging that price, you should get him back, because I'm going to be more expensive. But I'm more expensive because if something goes wrong, you've got that insurance, you've got that guarantee that if we do something wrong, we're going to fix it.
Yeah, you're spot on, man. I think that's what we need to. You're spot on, Chris. And I think that's what we need to promote more. I've actually changed the booking form to actually have, when they go on the online booking form now, it says all jobs are backed by the Gyms Group work guarantee.
Yeah,
so a lot of people don't know about it, but it's such a, like, no one can compete with it. Like, High Pages Airtask with the independent, like, literally, it's an unlimited guarantee.
That's a huge selling point that I say. That's a huge selling point that I say when I'm converting. When I'm quoting and when I'm converting jobs, when they question, oh, that's a bit expensive. I said, yeah, look, you might have got another quote that was cheaper, but this and this and this is why we're police checked. We're always insured. Like the main thing about how we have to use the gym's insurance, like independent, they could show you a thing saying they're insured, but they could just get that cover letter and cancel the next day. They're not actually insured. You've got no insurance. You've got no guarantee. Where gyms, we have to be insured.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you get breached and you get terminated. I know what happens there. So
there's not a gym out there that isn't insured, and it's
100%.
It's 100%.
Yeah, the advertisers, we have to guarantee it, and the only way we could guarantee it by having our own insurance brokerage. It's the only way to do it. Before we...
Yeah, it made a lot of sense when they explained why they made it Jim's Insurance. And it's not like it's any more expensive. It's very fairly priced as well.
It has to be fairly priced. But I tell you what, if it's not, when we do the renewals, we hear about it. So, we try and keep it as much as we can. But the great thing with our policy, which people might not know, is it covers odd jobs. Now, odd jobs means a franchisee is covered for a lot more outside the gardening scope if needed.
Yep.
Where a lot of the other policies don't cover that. So
okay, that's good.
Yeah. So if you do something a bit out there like window and pressure cleaning or something that's not in your services per se, but you have an issue, it would be covered under our policy, whereas other ones you wouldn't.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've been in the industry for 12 years and I have never broken a car window or house window.
Touch wood, you got to touch wood.
No, hang on. I signed up with gyms and I broke 3 in my first year.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. Yeah, it's just unlucky. It's just unlucky.
Oh, yeah.
We try and be careful. When it does happen, you're up front. Like there was a couple where I didn't even see it happen and I got calls and it's like, okay, that makes sense. That was me. I'm sorry. We'll get it fixed. I get it fixed. I've got a guy up in the area now. He would fix it next day for me.
You can't block their number and you can't run away. It gets right.
But an independent kid.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, like most of them are good people out there, but they could do it.
100%.
Yeah.
So. No, you're good. Well, you're a good man, Chris. Thanks for jumping on today. Is there anything else you all want to finish with today before I haven't asked you anything? Or
just if you're curious about it, just call the franchisor from your area. I would highly recommend it. And they can give you the numbers for franchisees, and people will be 100% honest. I'm not getting paid to come on here and talk gyms up. There's no incentive for me to come on. I just want to come on because I want to see more people out there be backed by the gyms franchising.
Yeah, that's straight to you. Well, we haven't paid you. We don't pay anyone on the podcast. We used to give away these call vouchers when they're available, but we don't pay anyone. But it's great to hear. And you've given us a few good TikTok clips now, Chris. So
nice.
Don't be. You might go viral if a couple of these speaking. It might be shared in some of the groups that you follow. You might see.
Does that make me look a bit slimmer?
Yeah, you might see these in a few of the local contractor groups, I reckon, when we put...
Yeah, no, that's good. Let them come. Give them my number and hold on. I'm not an actor.
Thanks a lot, Chris. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the episode of the More Than Just Mowing podcast by Jim's Mowing. If you do need help with your local gardening expert, please give us a call on 131 546 for Australia, 0800 454 654 for New Zealand, or head to jimsmowing.com.au or jimsmowing.co.nz. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to leave us a review as well, wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.